Hello everybody, this is the presentation for the last show and tell for the project for printing some Comino letters via Comino Notify. So Comino is a system that is used by benefits and housing needs officers and other people in the council to print letters from templates that are then sent to our residents. Currently these letters are picked up by members of the business support team and manually printed and posted out. And what we're doing is integrating Comino with Comino Notify, which is part of the government's platform. It's a cloud-based system that means we can send those letters remotely and not have to do them ourselves. Business support will be taking on the task of ensuring that these letters are sent okay at the end of every day and informing Hackett if there are any issues. So briefly, these are the project goals. We've achieved 2 letters to be sent out by Comino Notify. We've had to convert these letters from RTF, which is the format that comes out of Comino, into PDF, which is the format that's used by Notify. We've built a user interface, which I'll show you later on, that enables officers to be able to see all letters that have been printed out previously and also to deal with any issues. I just wanted to mention briefly that the project's been a great success because we've built on infrastructure which has been put in place for lots of other great Hackett projects. These include accounts on Amazon Web Services, using something called serverless or Lambda, which is a way of developing projects much faster than normal. Our code lives in open source in GitHub. We're using CircleCI for our automated deployment, and we're using the front-end component library as a mechanism to enable us to build the UI really quickly. Obviously, we've documented everything so that when our project partners, Maytech, which I'll again refer to in a second, leave the project, we'll be able to carry on developing it and supporting it internally, both from the Hackett development team as the sort of second line support, and then app support will be taking on the first line calls from the service desk. And we're going to make sure we're able to add new letters into the system to be supported for this kind of remote printing and new other teams in the council as well. So the team is a mixture of people from benefits and housing needs and business support, the people from Hackett who took part, and our development partners who have been Maytech. So I wanted to briefly talk about the first day of the project. It was great that we managed to get a whole load of stuff set up very, very quickly, which got the project off to a flying start. This included the network logins for Hackett, so thank you to the service desk for that. And then setting up a whole bunch of shared working environments for the project in Trello, Google Drive, GitHub, and also access to the staging and live sites for Comino, so that Maytech could get on with working on that straight away. We had a kickoff meeting on the first day in which we set the vision and the project goals, lots of really good information from our product owner, Thomas, and then we had immediately 2 follow-on sessions from Juma and Javina, which showed us how the existing ways of working take place. We looked at potentially doing 5 letters in the first bit of this project, but because we only had 3 weeks to deliver things, we've only done the top 2, but that's still going to cover well over 700 letters per week. So this is the current process map. I won't go through it all. You can pause the video if you want to have a look at it. But suffice to say that it was quite a manual process with lots of backs and forwards. So we're going to move away from that, which this is the brief highlights of that. Benefits and Housing Needs Officer creates a letter in Comino from a template, and it's then added to a folder where it's picked up by business support, who then print it out manually and send it off. So we're moving to this new process. Again, I won't go through it in full detail, but suffice to say that most of the service is now automated. The letters get picked up automatically by the system and put into the daily batch queue. If benefits and housing need officer that printed it realizes that they don't want to send it after all, they can remove it before the 3:30 cutoff time. Otherwise, they're picked up and sent automatically off by Notify. And then at 4 o'clock, the business support officers look at the UI to see if there's been any issues, and they are then fed back to Hackett. The only extra step is that at the moment, for the 2 letters that we've done, we have an extra approval step. So that is after the Benefits and Housing Needs Officer has printed them. They go into the UI, check that the conversion into PDF looks okay, and hit approve. Now, we're only going to do that for maybe a week, and then we're going to switch the approval off so that any letters that have been sending successfully for a week will go through automatically with no checks. But as we introduce more letters into the system, we're going to put that approval step on for just the letters that we're making sure are going through okay. And then again, for each one, after about a week, when we're sure they're being transformed from RTF to PDF correctly, we'll switch that check off. So I'm now going to pass you over to Ben, and Ben's going to talk you through a little bit about the technical architecture for the project, and also about how the user interface works.
So the challenge we've had with this system is in the fact that the RTF documents in Comino, they currently don't have the address in quite the right place for GovNotify, which has quite strict limits on where the address should be placed on the page so that it fits in the window of the envelope. So there's been a few extra steps that we had to do on this in terms of sort of pulling around the content of the letter. The way the process works, there's a timed task that runs every minute that fetches any new documents that match the criteria of documents that we can process, fetches those IDs from Comino, pushes them into a thing called SQS, which is simple queuing service, which is an Amazon service. So there might be a few different documents get fetched, and each one of these IDs gets pushed into SQS. There's then what's called a queue worker that runs basically on demand as something gets pushed into SQS. It then takes the document ID from the queue, pulls out the documents from the Documents API in HTML format. So we already do some conversion from RTF to HTML. That HTML then allows us to pull around the address to make sure that it's in the correct place on the page, which is where we modify the layout. At that point, we then convert the HTML to PDF using a microservice that we've created. And then we store that document in S3, as well as storing all of the kind of logs of that conversion process in a DynamoDB database. And at that point, the document is basically ready to send to Notify. We only send to Notify once a day because the existing workflow is that users can remove things from the print queue. So we want to still give them the chance to do that. So at 3:30 p.m. every day, we pull out from the database all of the documents that have the ready to send to GovNotify state, and then send those off to GovNotify. Now, GovNotify is a service that it doesn't return immediately. It can take some time to actually determine whether that document is ready to send. So we have to then periodically check whether those documents are in a state that is either successful or has failed validation. So for example, if the address was too long and pushed out of the box on the page. So this other time task on the left-hand side checks GovNotify for the status of each document and updates the database. And once that document was successfully sent, it updates Comino to remove it from the print queue. You can see the user interface. It's quite simple. There's basically just a list of documents and the state in which they are in the process. And you can click into an individual document. You can either look at the original document or you can look at the PDF that we generated. That allows you to compare and make sure everything looks okay. At which point you can either choose to cancel the sending or you can approve it for going to GovNotify.
Okay, so what's next for the project? One of the things we're going to do is talk about cost savings. And we've got a plan to think about how we're going to estimate that and use that as a business case driver for implementing this for other teams and other parts of the council, and maybe introducing further use of Notify into other services. And we're going to work with the new council-wide product owner for Notify in order to be able to do that. And we're looking forward to being able to introduce cloud printing to a lot more parts of the council. If you have any questions, please send them to me. I've been David Durant. You can just email me directly and I will get back to you if you have anything you'd like to talk about. Thank you for your time.